Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Greg Prettyman. I will be the moderator here. Today's webinar is called From Taxis to Trusted Rides. It's East Aurora's Transportation Transformation. And I'm glad I was able to say that correctly. So we welcome everyone here, whether you're a district or a transportation expert for your company. We appreciate you being here. And we think we'll have some great information for you. We'll get started a little bit by way of introductions. As mentioned, I'm Greg Prettyman. I'm the Vice President of First Alt, the Alternative Transportation Division of First Student. And I'll just kind of be leading the discussion and moderating it. And why don't we start out with, we'll introduce Gladys De Lucio and have her introduce herself, and then Leon Fornelli, and then we'll get started.
Absolutely. Thank you, Greg. So my name is Gladys De Lucio. I am the Transportation Director for East Aurora School District 131 here in Aurora, Illinois. Been in my position here for starting my 8th year. Been in the industry of pupil transportation for 21 years. So have lots of experience with both taxis and now also alternate transportation.
Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Leon Fornelli. I'm the Area General Manager for First Alt in the Central Region. I've been working in alternative transportation now for about 15 years, and I'm excited to be able to talk with you all today about our partnership with East Aurora School District.
We've got a lot of transportation experience. If we got you two at a cocktail party, you guys would have stories to tell for days.
Yeah.
Yes.
Most definitely.
Absolutely, tons. So Gladys, why don't you tell us a little bit about how your relationship with First Student as a whole and how you utilize First Student, and then how you came to hear about First Alt.
Sure. So here at East Aurora, we just started regular ed transportation for our families when I came to the district 8 years ago. And we started that partnership with First Student. So I was here for that initial, rollout, and our partnership has just grown, right? They transport over, we currently have 13,000 students in the district, and they transport the majority of them. We, I think, are at 3,700 kids. So they've done a phenomenal job. I mean, we've gotten through COVID, right? Everyone had that COVID scenario going on in their district. So we, managed to build that relationship and that trust with them during that difficult time. And we've enjoyed our partnership so much that we've just actually increased our contract for 5 more years because they've just done a phenomenal job. So that's how I started working with First Student as a whole. And they actually introduced us to First Alt under the First Student umbrella.
Great. Yeah, and that's one of the nice things being part of First Student ourselves, right, is it's a bus-centered transportation company. And we on the First Alt side have learned a lot from the bus side and their policies and practices as well. So how did you come to need the First Alt services from First Student, and maybe kind of just tell us the story of why you even reached out to First Student to ask if they could help you in the alternative space?
Absolutely. So East Aurora here, we are, like I said, Aurora is the second largest city in Illinois, and we have an 84% Latino population. And we are also dealing with a lot of our McKinney-Vento students being transitioned from outside of the district. So we have grown from approximately 600 McKinney-Vento students to now 900 McKinney-Vento students, right, throughout the school year. And we just had the need. We had the need that grew so fast in our general population area here, and First Student couldn't keep up. So that made us go out and kind of, outsource and use taxi cabs. And we've just had so many challenges when it came to taxi cabs that my general manager suggested, hey, we have this new, partnership with First Alt, like they're under the same umbrella. You should really talk to them, see if they're able to assist, because they just got to the point where they were not able to service our students outside of the general area because we had bus driver shortages. So I'm like, let's see what this is all about. And that's when I got introduced to Leon. We talked, he gave me this presentation of what they were all about, really focused on the fact that they were under that First Student umbrella, which we already had that established relationship. They knew safety, they knew what the district needed, and they were able to fulfill that, especially with customer service. So in talking with Leon and learning about, First Alt as a whole, really got us intrigued and moved into that direction of starting up a partnership with them.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, and I think when you talk about McKinney-Vento students, even if you have all the bus drivers you could possibly use, that's one of those times where it's not always practical to utilize buses, and that your students are moving around, they're at different locations, and it might just be a one-off. So Leon, as Gladys reached out to you and kind of expressed some of her challenges, what were the challenges that you saw, and kind of what was your solution that you brought her with First Alt?
Yeah, so it's a great question. With any type of logistics, there's always going to be some unique scenarios, right? So as Gladys mentioned, first off, Aurora in general is the second largest city in Illinois. But it's a lot further from the city. So geographically speaking, making sure that we had enough drivers in the area to support them. Also, with the McKinney-Vento population, we're talking about a lot of students that had a lot of moving pieces. Students changing addresses, changing different locations. They're scattered kind of all over the city. Some in other cities, right, that we had to commute to get the students to school on time. So when we originally met with Gladys and her team, we were presented with a very large number of students, but in a very short amount of time too. Turnaround that we had, because the school was, the school year was ready to kick off, and Gladys needed assistance immediately. This wasn't something that we could just put on the back burner and say, hey, we'll come back to you in a few months. So one of the larger challenges that my team had was identifying exactly how many drivers we could get on the road immediately for her, that were all, making sure that they're all through the state processes and they have all the proper clearances and they're ready to go. And then also setting the tone with Gladys and her team to say, here's how many we can get transported today, here's where we can be tomorrow, and here's where we'll be down the road, to continue to be able to, kind of chip away at those transportation needs. We were able to identify the students, with Gladys and her team, that were very high priority. The ones that she wanted to really ensure right away were on this form of transportation to ensure the safest transportation for these students, to make sure that these needs were met. And we were able to meet those right away. It's that partnership together, being able to collaborate in that short amount of time, to be able to address those issues and those concerns, but to be able to do them in the most effective manner.
Yeah, Gladys, to Leon's kind of points, what were some of the issues you were having with the taxis that you needed to resolve? And just kind of, I'm sure there's other districts struggling with that same thing. Like, how do we efficiently mobilize our forces to help with our McKinney-Vento students? And so what were the struggles, and what were you looking for First Alt to kind of solve there?
Sure. So in multiple meetings that I've had with Leon and his team, right, is what are the expectations of the district? What are we looking for? What were we struggling with? A lot of it had to do with safety. I mean, they weren't equipped with any cameras. So anytime there was a situation in a taxi cab, we couldn't verify if it was true, untrue, if it happened, if it didn't happen. So that was a big thing. Another one was safety equipment. So when we talk about students needing booster seats, car seats, any type of special equipment, the parent would have to provide it. And it just became so cumbersome for the parent to be in charge of a car seat that had to go in a taxi and then had to come back, or the teacher had to take it out of the taxi once they got to the school, and we had to make sure it came back. Like, just so many, like, I'm not doing that, she's doing that, he's doing that, like, who's in charge? Like, it's lost, like, where is it? So that was another component that we had to, really hone down on. And lastly was GPS, right? They have the First View app. So parents are now able to view in real life and really have the same experience that their regular peers in district have. So they're able to get notifications on First View. They're able to, make sure they know where their cab is and how they're getting to and from, and that they've made it there safely. Because realistically, any parent that puts their child in a cab from preschool all
Right.
the way up to high school, it's like they're going to be leery about who they're sending their kid off to school with. So having that peace of mind of having that extra application that's going to kind of, keep them in tune with where their children are speaks volumes.
Yeah, great. Well, we're going to put a slide up on here right now. It's literally the umbrella, right? This is my pride and joy slide. I've been talking about this for a long time, and I think one of the great benefits of working with First Alt and First Student is that you have the same umbrella. And so, Leon, can you talk to a little bit what are the benefits that come with that, from whether it's cameras to technology, and how does that flow across, having one company service your students?
Yeah, just from the experience of working with Gladys, she'd been working with the bus side for so long. So there were very high expectations. And, when we were talking about it, Gladys had mentioned a lot of her concerns, as she had mentioned just now, safety, a top concern. When you're working with, First Alt and First, which is a part of First Students, all under one umbrella. So our safety is designed, specifically after what First Student built for bus drivers. Our drivers go through a very similar training process that was designed and modeled after what First Student had built for all their bus drivers across the country. You're going to get the same standard. It's a one-stop shop, right? So the same expectations that First Student puts on their buses, their bus drivers, and their transportation we're going to have the same thing and the same expectations for First Alt as well. We make sure that all the drivers have all the proper certifications. We're maintaining the vehicles and maintenance that we're looking through to make sure that they go through all the checks and balances. We're making sure that the training protocols are all up to the same standards, and we're checking all the boxes. You're also reducing communication. I think a lot of times, districts are going to look at multiple options, and for some districts, they're like, well, I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket. But then when there's an incident or an accident that occurs, or when there's a situation that comes up, or even just something like a question about an invoice, now you have to go through multiple different contacts to try to get things all sorted out. You're calling different companies, you're calling different people, and that communication is not always going to be standard. Again, the standardization here at First Student is key. The same way Gladys can communicate with, the LM or the AGM on the bus side, she's going to get that same communication and expectation from us as well. Our dispatchers are all trained to make sure that they have the same standard of communication. They're, for the district. So that way there's way less confusion all across the board. So I think really when you have that umbrella and that one-stop shop, it just really solidifies everything across the board. And it just makes it easier for the district to be able to know who they're contacting, who they're communicating with, and what those expectations are going to be.
Yeah, I agree. And to that kind of one point of contact, Gladys, how has it been to have, the First Student / First Alt, it's called First View, and that's the district portal, and it's also the parent app, right? And so maybe talk a little bit about how helpful that's been to have all of your trips in one tool.
So it works for us as here in our administrative center, right? Because if a parent calls, we're able to see. We don't have to make that third communication of, hey, I can't see, where's this driver? And wait that extra time to get back to the parent, right? And wait until somebody gives you an answer. Like, you have it at your fingertips. And I think that speaks volumes for the customer service that we want to provide our families, right? And not just our families, even our students, because sometimes our high schoolers call, right? And it's just great that they have that opportunity. Everybody has a cell phone, right? Majority of people, even students. So we want to make sure that students have that ability to be able to check on their own as well. And really, it's just that safety, for the parents and knowing that their children are safe by following that app. So I love it. Yeah. I mean, I really try to share with other districts around us as well, and then have started using it because really it speaks volumes. You don't have that extra call to make. You have it all at your fingertips. And that's just, nowadays you need that at your fingertips.
Yeah, I can relate to that as I'm the black sheep of my family because I have the Samsung phone on the family chat. And so I just know it's so nice for your district parents to have one app that whether they're riding the bus or whether they're running on an alt trip, there's one app for everybody, right? And so you don't have to be, okay, wait, which app do you use? Which app do you use? And all this stuff. And so anyway, yeah, my girls wish we had one app to rule them all in our family as well. I know cameras were very important to you. And Leon, maybe could you speak to the camera solution that you utilized with Aurora and how that works and some of the cool tools and technology that you have available?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, cameras were very important to Gladys when we first, presented that as an option for the school district. Being able to partner with Samsara cameras allows First Alt to have access and visibility within the vehicle, not only for the visibility of the front of the vehicle to see the road, but also inside the vehicle. Samsara provides us with AI technology that allows us to look for distracted driving. If a driver's on a cell phone, it catches movement in the car. So if there's excessive behavior, especially if it's a student with behavioral concerns, we can see that, and the video will begin to monitor the movement in the vehicle. It also tracks things like hard braking, hard turning, speeding, and then instant real-time accident notification, which I think is really important, especially for the safety of the students, because if there's ever an accident, we get an instant notification and we can see right into the vehicle at that time. I don't have to wait for a driver to dispatch, to call police or EMS if needed. I could see it instantly from right there, and I can not only make that call, or our team can make that call, but then we can also have somebody contacting Gladys immediately as well, because we've seen it. We're basically on the scene instantly with that view. It's also cloud-based technology, so we have full access to it, right? So there's
Leon, you froze froze. Okay, you're back. You froze just for a second.
Oh,
you're
man.
good though.
Okay. Well, I apologize.
That's okay. Stop freezing.
So I mean, the instant access to the camera technology, helps us be able to communicate instantly with our partners like Gladys and be able to provide information on any incident or accident reporting that we need to be able to provide. And last, again, with the AI technology, it also helps us for real-time training with the drivers too. I mean, people make mistakes, things happen, right? And that's going to happen in any type of transportation industry. But the ability to see the footage instantly, to get that notification, helps us to do real-time training and correction with drivers to prevent that from happening again, or to prevent any further issues for any other drivers. And the technology alone has helped us, continue to improve on the transportation that we're able to provide for East Aurora School District and all of our school districts across the country.
Yeah, I want to touch on one item that I'm sure anyone listening in transportation will appreciate. As you guys all know, it seems like we're the last to know, whether you're a district or the transportation company. We're the last to know when an accident happens, because the teenager might be on there and they're instantly calling their parents, and the driver's trying to make sure everyone's safe, make sure everything is, they're off the road. In the meantime, you get a call to someone's, we're the kind of last people to know, it seems like. And so with this new technology, as Leon was mentioning, as soon as there's an impact, a certain level of impact, we get an immediate alert on the Samsara app that all of our operations team has. And so we know instantly, something happened, there's an issue with this vehicle, and we can link right into that, get a hold of the driver. So that's been really nice to not be, to just kind of instantly real time know that there's an issue and we can start working on it. Gladys, how have you seen, how have the cameras made a difference from the district side?
They have. And unfortunately, we did have only, since our partnership initiated, one accident, knock on some wood there.
That's right.
And again, it was immediate, right? They notified us immediately. We went out to the scene, but the camera, the view of both out of the windshield and then towards the back, we could see the student was not injured. We could see the vehicle that hit the alternate vehicle backed into it. So it wasn't even like front impact. I mean, the driver for some reason put his car in reverse. They were at a stop sign and hit, and then he drove off. So that even helped with police assistance and getting tracking down the driver, making sure, he was held accountable for his actions as well. So, I mean, it's real time, it's high def. I mean, it's very good quality. It's not like you're old videos where you can maybe make out 1 or 2 letters on the license plates. I mean, like, it was dead on, spot on. And we were able to locate that driver and hold them accountable. So, I mean,
and with the cloud technology, you don't have to get a tape pulled from us and sent to you to view somewhere else. We can instantly download that in real time and then be able to provide, instantaneous footage for you. I mean, you can see it like right away. You don't have to wait for us to be able to pull it, and how old camera footage used to be as well. So it's very advanced and very
I can't believe we all used to work in the good old days. I don't know if it was a good old day, but we used to have to, as you know, as for a lot of people on this call, you had the SIM card or the memory card in the camera, and now we had to get to the car, get the card, put it in a computer. No one ever had the little connection thing that makes it work on your laptop or whatever. So it's been so nice to do that and to have that just kind of like say cloud-based technology makes a huge difference for everybody. Another thing I wanted to touch on was you're talking about supporting a diverse community, and that the majority of the students that you're transporting or working with are Spanish speakers. How has, one, maybe for other districts listening, and what challenges does that present you with regards to transportation? And two, how has First Alt, been able to help with that, or what's some advice you might give to others listening to this?
Sure. So, in one of the many meetings that we've had with Leon and his crew prior to starting the partnership, I think a bilingual Spanish-speaking person was very high on my list. Along with safety. Why? Because parents are intimidated when they call somewhere and they don't speak Spanish, right? Or their native language. So it kind of takes off the buffer from us as well here at the transportation depot, because parents are able to speak to someone directly at First Alt. Right? They can call in, they have a bilingual line, they can call in and get the information that they need. They don't have to bypass them and go through all these other steps or hoops in order to get what they need. And I think that just speaks volumes, because they were able to produce, a couple of their routers and customer service reps that answer the phones speak Spanish. So that definitely puts our families at ease, and they're able to communicate whatever needs they have, or calling off a student, or requesting any additional information or services. So for us, that was high priority because most of our families are of Spanish-speaking origin.
Great. And Leon, maybe talk about the First Alt Dispatch Center and how many, what percentage, are Spanish speakers, and how has that helped on your end as you're trying to coordinate the transportation as well?
Yeah, we're lucky to have, the majority of our dispatch centers speak Spanish. We have the majority of our dispatchers are bilingual, which really helps, especially with a school district like East Aurora. As Gladys mentioned, I mean, you're looking at 84% of the population speaks Spanish in East Aurora. And change is hard, right? So for other school districts, when you're like, well, I'm not sure about alternative transportation, all my families are used to yellow buses. Look, we understand it. Change is difficult, and I think the hardest, the population takes it the hardest sometimes is the parents as well, right? Because they're used to a yellow bus. So a smaller vehicle showing up on the first day to pick up a student, that can be a little nerve-wracking. They want to be able to know, exactly who's picking up their student. Are they qualified to do so? And communication is what's required to do that. So we make a phone call out to every single parent prior to the start of any transportation. We call parents if there's ever a change to drivers and so on. Those introduction calls, if I'm making the call and it's just an English-speaking parent, I can talk to them and answer all their questions. When you have a bilingual or when you have a Spanish-speaking only family, they need somebody to be able to communicate specifically to that parent to help ease their concerns. By having a bilingual dispatch center, we've been able to do that. Our team will call the parents, they'll answer all the questions for them. And we can hear how grateful those parents are because somebody took the time to talk to them about, the driver's name, the estimated pickup times. What are the driver's qualifications? What does the vehicle look like? The make, model, color of the vehicle, the license plate number, all of it. Just being able to communicate with ease helps ease the parent's mind about who's picking up their student. And we've seen great success on day one and picking up those students with less confusion, less complaints from the parents, and less concern overall, because they know that they can call right in at any point in time and be able to ask us additional questions if they have it. Having that dispatch center has really been key, and I think it's been a really key point in our transition with East Aurora in making it such a successful startup, last year and as well as this year, as we've continued to add more students.
Yeah, that is exciting. And I think a lot of credit, we talked about, 15 years of experience as we built our dispatch center transportation team, we consciously were like, hey, we need a multilingual team, because around the country, we're going to be transporting students who speak various languages all over the U.S. And we have to be able to serve all those populations. The one thing I wanted to talk about too, Gladys, is transportation. Things don't always work out, exactly how we hope they'd be. I think I mentioned to you before that in my past, I think maybe like 10 years ago, we had a piece of marketing material that said, "So worry-free transition." And I remember when I first started in this industry, I thought, oh yeah, of course. And then I was like, you know what, we should probably get rid of that saying altogether, because it's always difficult to transition. Whether you're completely in-house at a school district and you've been transporting students for 50 years, every new school year brings about new challenges. So maybe talk about a little bit of the obstacles or the hard parts that you ran into, and then how Leon, then maybe you and Leon could just talk about that. How did you work together to overcome those startup, obstacles?
Absolutely. So when we started talking about our partnership, I think it was in April. But, talking about a partnership and really setting the tone of what our expectations are as a district is going to take some time. We have to sell it to the school board. We have to really, sell it to our constituents, right? Because we want to make sure that everyone's on the same page. So that took a lot of time. I mean, we've had meetings after meetings after meetings, right? With Leon and his team, like, what are my expectations? And we sometimes were met with, a little bit of challenge, because like, no, we can't do that. No, let me tell you, this is going to be high on my priority. Like, this is XYZ. These are the experiences we have. This is why we need to do what we need to do. So, I mean, they really worked with us in making sure that we were able to present something to our families, to our school district, to our school board that was representative of the customer service that we wanted to give everyone involved, parents and students. So I think it took a little longer than expected. We didn't get full approval by the board until beginning of August, right? So we were already behind time crunch. Yeah. And like I explained to Leon, because, we were both kind of like, how are we going to make this happen? Because when I told him initially, like, we transport about 600 to 700 students. Well, that particular year, we were up to like 900 students. So, and the expectation was clear, right? Leon, you're not going to be able to do this in 3 weeks where you're going to transport 900 kids for me. Like, that's just not going to happen. I don't care what world we live in. However, with clear expectation of what he can and cannot do, really set the tone for how we wanted to start off our school year. And I think that we just had to work behind the scenes to kind of pick up the pieces that they weren't going to be able to fulfill for day one. So just having that clear expectation of creating that timeline that's realistic, right? And making sure that, like Leon said, all the boxes are checked off, but making sure that most of all our students are taken well care of. So I don't think we hit everyone rolling until that December, they were able to fulfill everything. And that's okay. Like I told Leon, let me know as soon as they become available, like we will start shifting them over. And we really had to ease into the transition. It just wasn't going to be ready for day one. And that's okay. We did it as a pilot program for 1 year. And everything went well. They really listened to all of our concerns, any adjustments that needed to be made. And we are happy to announce that we just engaged with them on a 4-year contract that's going to coincide with our first student contract, so that it'll all renew at the same time. So we were very excited about that.
That is great news. There's 2 things I wanted to bring up. One I want Leon to talk about is, Leon, earlier in your career, I'm assuming you'd have said, oh yeah, 600 kids, 2 weeks, I got this, right? And then it would have crashed and burned and been terrible. So maybe we'll talk about that first. What have you learned over the course of your career when Gladys, I was thinking about this phone call, right? August 15th, let's say, when the board approved, you're like, hey, Leon, guess what? We have 600 students. We'd love to start tomorrow. How did you kind of set those expectations, Leon? And I bet you, it kills you as an operator to say, sorry, we can't do it all. But eventually, that's the best answer you can probably give a district. So kind of walk us through that process with you.
Yeah, interestingly enough, I didn't tell Gladys that we couldn't do it. I just said we couldn't do it right this second.
There you go.
We wanted to set proper expectations. And, Gladys was upfront with me from the beginning. She said, look, just tell me how it's going to be. Don't beat around the bush. Yeah. Just let me know what we're really looking at. And we did. So we evaluated all the students that she had, and we started to set proper timelines. If I could sum it up in one word, I'd say grace. Gladys and her team provided us with a lot of grace and understanding to know that, first and foremost, I don't know in the history of any school's transportation that a startup season has ever gone flawless and perfectly smooth. There's always going to be unique circumstances that are going to create, some bumps in the road. But they understood that we were going to get things worked out, and we were going to get things, on track, because we had time, right? I mean, we were going to make sure that it was a full year of transportation. It wasn't just, you got to get it done today, this day only. So we started with what we could provide, and we set proper expectations by giving her a clear timeline of saying, within the next week, we have this number of drivers getting cleared. We will get them on to take this many more students. There's always unique challenges throughout it, though. Things happen. People get sick throughout the year. A vehicle might break down or something, or there was an accident, as Gladys mentioned, and that happened kind of at the beginning of the year. We had lost that driver for a little bit. There's students all of a sudden change addresses, which affects routes. And then once the address changes, now things are a little different. We might have, split up some students, or you got to split students due to behavioral concerns. So there's all these little factors. And the entire time, Gladys and her team not only understood those, but they helped collaborate with us to find the best options to be able to provide transportation for the students. We built up throughout that entire year. And while we started to get towards December, like she said, and we took on, the majority of them, if not all, throughout the year, from December all the way to June, we continued to add more and more students. And as they came in, I want to give my team a lot of credit. My team was able to communicate with her and her staff all the time to say, yep, we've got this student, we received it, we've routed them, we're going to start on this date, or, this one is a little further out, we'll start by this date. And with that clear communication, they were able to communicate with the parents as well, set the proper expectations across the board, and we were able to get each and every student transported.
Yeah, I think Leon brings up a really great point for you, Gladys, not for you, Gladys, or about Gladys, that you really do need a partnership between the district and your transportation company. And I know vendor, I hate the word vendor, right? Because you really do have to we have to look at each other as a partner. And that would be my advice to any district is, look, no matter who you're working with, and no matter really what you're working with, whether it's transportation or food services or whatever, the more you can work with them, the better the more success you're going to see and the faster you're going to see it. I mean, Gladys, you could have obviously you could have got frustrated at any point along the way and stopped being communicative, or, just your attitude makes a huge difference in the team's, success, I think. So I think it's very appreciative. And I think it's a great lesson for districts everywhere. Hey, you're going to get a lot more out of working together than you are kind of just getting frustrated and feeling like you have to kind of scold the person you're working with versus hey, how can we get better together?
Absolutely. Transparency. I mean, really me setting the expectations, them telling me what was realistic, what wasn't. And we would meet once a week at the start for a few months. Yeah. I'm sure they were tired of hearing from me. But now, I mean, we will meet maybe once every 3 months or if something pressing comes up. But the team really knows what my expectation is. And they've really adhered to that. At first there was, you want us to do what? call
Sure.
you for every little thing. Yes, I want you to text me. I want you to call me. I want, like, we have to keep that dialogue going, because again, until we create that partnership and establish what the parameters would look like, you need to have that transparency and dialogue. So I'm very appreciative for everything they've put forth as well.
Yeah, and I think
great.
that also.
Go ahead, Leon.
I just think that it speaks to the fact that, it's not a one-stop shop for every single it's not the same for every school district, right?
That's right.
And our team is able to adapt and adhere to what the needs are. I mean, we're here to listen to the school district, and things were a little different in East Aurora. And when we sat down, Gladys laid out what the expectations were, and our goal is to meet those expectations. It's not to sit and push back and say, oh, like that seems ridiculous. We understand that the top priority is getting students to school, and we know how passionate Gladys and her team were about those students and about her community, and wanting to make sure that not only they had the best possible transportation, but it was always the safest, it was always the most reliable, and that it was consistent. And so, we heard her needs, and we understood those expectations. And so we kind of, we customized our responses for her around what those needs were, to make sure that we met what the district needed and what those students needed each and every day.
Yeah, I really like that point. And for those listening in, we're going to try and wrap up in about the next 10 minutes, just so you know. So hang in there. I think the customized thing has really hit me, and I wrote that down as well. I think, Gladys, from a transportation company, like for us, we're trying to standardize as many things as we can, right? Because it's difficult to manage any business with by exception. But what we've learned over the years is, in the end, you can standardize a few high-level things, but then what I think, Leon and I's 15 years of experience together has taught us is, you do have to approach each district is going to have their own specific way of they've done things, their own specific needs. Even the parent community, right, varies from district to district. Hey, one district may say, hey, we have a very vocal parent community, so we need it done this way. Another. So we've even noticed some districts will say, we don't want to use the parent app. Like, we don't want the parents to know any more than they need to know. And then other districts are like, yes, how fast can you get that in the hands of our parents? So I think it's been a big lesson for us over the years, is that as much as you want to kind of like standardize something, when it comes to special needs and McKinney-Vento populations, each district really does have their own unique needs, their own policies, and how they do things. And you really just have to end up making that district feel comfortable. So I'm glad Leon did that. And I'm glad, Gladys, I think that is an important thing for each district to realize, like, it's okay to expect whoever you're working with to meet your specific needs. Correct. Because you're not running your district isn't one size fits all, and neither can be the solution of the company you're working with.
Agreed. I definitely agree. And I think that when we see what experiences we've had with First Student as a whole, to know First Adult is under that same umbrella and has that same philosophy really speaks volumes. Yep.
Well, so we have we'll go to a few questions. I have a few questions that we were asked, and if anyone has any other questions, you can type them in. But the first question was, and I'll address this to you, Glass, how do you measure success in a program like this? And I'm thinking this question might be bigger than just transportation success of First Adult or First Student, but just for you as a transportation director, how do you measure success?
As a district, you measure the success, or for us, we measure the success by feedback from the families, right? How many complaints have we received? How many phone calls have we had to answer due to them receiving alternate transportation? And to tell you that our volume of phone calls has decreased immensely is an understatement. For the same reason, because they have everything at their fingertips, because they've been communicated what the expectation is of their students' ride. So really, that's how we measure the call volume, any email volume, any feedback that we would get, not only from parents, but even from school administrators, because they are dealing with these drivers when they're picking picking up or dropping off their students as well. So even that has really decreased as far as any negative communication with any administrators, because again, you're taking that layer away from them having to deal with little issues as they're walking in or out of a building. So that really speaks volumes.
That's great to hear you say that, because I've made that same argument forever, right? My whole career. Like, look, on-time percentage is important, et cetera, et cetera. But when it comes especially to special needs, you may be late on a trip, but you may have done an outstanding job because that student refused to get in the vehicle, or that student was having a rough day and you took that extra time. And so I've seen districts, like our on-time percentage was, we were 20 minutes late, but the district's like, thank you so much, because the parent's happy, the district's happy. So I agree with you. I always say, if the volume of calls is going up, we're not doing a good job. If it's going down, we're doing a good job. So I think that's a great way to view it. Another question that we got that I want to make sure we get to, and I'll just answer this one. What are fees for something like this service? How is it billed to your company? And so on alternative transportation, it's generally, it's a matrix base. So it's not, we're on the bus side, it's per day. On alternative transportation, it's per trip. So there'll be like a flat rate for the one-way trip in the morning, flat rate for the one-way trip in the afternoon, and then depending on mileage or any other items. So let's say that flat rate includes X amount of miles, and then there's a mileage rate after that. And then there's a whole bunch of a la carte items, right? Because each trip is so different. Do you need a safety vest? Do you need a car seat? Do you need a wheelchair van versus a, kind of a regular minivan? So it really is a kind of matrix based, and then you can really conform it to your program. So if all your trips are long, if all your trips are short, you can take that matrix and really get a good feel for what your costs are going to be per day and per year. So different from the bus side where it might be per day, it's more per trip based. Yeah, Leon?
And just something to note is that it's not, we don't charge per student. So the idea is, while we are using smaller vehicles like sedans, vans, minivans, or SUVs for this style of transportation, we still try to put as many students into a vehicle that we can fit safely, right? Like, First Student doesn't put students in the front seat because of safety concerns, obviously. But we do try to put as many students onto a vehicle, and we don't charge per student. It's just mileage based. So if you had 3 students in one house, which for East Aurora, I can speak directly to that, is that there's a lot of families from one house, right? And they might be going to 2 different schools, but the parents would prefer that the students, stay together and the bell times work. If it's only, a certain amount of miles, you're only getting charged for those miles for those 3 students in that same vehicle. You're not getting additional charges for each, student that's counted in there. So I think that's a key point to make as well.
That's a great point. And where it really helps on the McKinney-Vento side is you're only getting charged if you run the trip as well in this model. So if that student then moves out of the district permanently or finds permanent housing and you no longer required to transport, you're no longer getting billed. So there's not, it's really, let's just say you're transporting one student on one trip for 2 weeks, and then that student no longer needs transportation. You no longer will be getting charged for that. So that also helps districts with the ebb and flow of student population.
Yeah, and for the most part, we also have something in place for our school district too. If the student doesn't ride in the morning, then we won't send the cab for the afternoon, right? So you eliminate that cost as well. Unless the student is driven into school, then the schools call us and let us know, and we got to make sure that vehicle is there for them in the afternoons.
Yeah, that's another great point. So we got just a couple minutes left. Gladys, we're going to let you take the last word, and maybe just talking to the whole world's listening right now, or at least 25 or 30 people, who knows? But yeah, what's just your advice on anyone that might be struggling with their existing alternative transportation and kind of what you've been through? What's your words of wisdom to share?
My words of wisdom would be to really, really, really take the time to evaluate whoever is doing your alternate transportation. Really dig in deep, right? Are the drivers certified? Are the drivers getting training? Making sure that they have background checks, because any taxi cab company can tell you that they do it, but unless they're actually giving you something physical that says that they've been doing it, this is the protocol that we follow, something that they have in place for their drivers, because safety is key, right? And in 21 years, when you say we have stories to share, I mean, I've dealt with so many taxi cab companies, and I have some good stories to tell you, from, taxi cab drivers bringing students drinks, when they pick them up, or taking them to the gas station before they take them home, or McDonald's, or this or that. Like, those are things that you need to vet out for your students, and making sure that they're safe, making sure that you trust who is behind the wheel, and knowing that we have First Alt that takes that extra step, again, just like they do for our bus drivers with First Student, speaks volumes, right? And, I had a school district once tell me, oh, yeah, but they charge a lot. No, you get what you pay for. This is a service, and you want to provide the best service. If I were to just go with any random taxi cab company that doesn't bet, of course, I'm going to get a cheaper rate, because they're not investing in their drivers. They're not investing in their company. They're just there for the bottom dollar. And that's not what we're here to do. We need to provide safety for our students. We need to make sure that we are providing adequate drivers and service at the end of the day. Like, they are our pride and joy, and we need to make sure we got them to and from school every day. I always say, personally, I feel like every child is my child, right? As a parent, whether they're in an alternate vehicle, whether they're in a school bus, or no matter how they get to and from school, even walkers. I mean, we still want to make sure that they get to and from school safely. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about.
Wow. Well said. I can feel the passion and feel the genuineness in those comments. I think let's end on a high note. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you, Gladys and Leon. And please reach out to Gladys or Leon. You'll have their information in the invite you got if you have any other questions.
Excellent.
Thank you, everybody.
Take care, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.